Okay, I am now speaking, and we've just had a wonderful conversation together with Police Superintendent in Chief, Boston Police Department, uh, William Gross, a wonderful, down to earth person. I probably have just spent an hour speaking with him, just catching up on some really rich Boston history, and so enlightened about so many things that I didn't know. But this is a young man who has come up through the ranks. He is a humble servant leader, a leader in his community, and I am honored to be sitting across from him right now and talking to him about the wonderful work that he does as a leader. So, uh, I don't know really where to begin, but I think I'm going to start here and ask you, Chief, what is it exactly that made you want to lead?
Sure, I can answer that. First of all, it's an honor to be sitting across from you. And,
Thank you.
It's just an honor to be here. And thanks for letting me burn your ears off for a whole hour.
I enjoyed it. It was probably one of the best hours I've spent, believe me.
So probably the best way to answer that question is a little bit of history. I don't know, maybe it's cosmic. I've always found myself being asked to be like a leader in classroom studies or on teams. And the strong confidence that was instilled upon me from my grandmother and my mother growing up. And be a leader. Know your history, know your self-worth. Learn from leaders so that you can become a leader. But the most important aspect of that training is this. Never forget where you came from, where you come from, and always, always, always treat people as you wanted to be treated. And quite basically, throughout life, I sit back, I'm quiet, and then people say, hey, we want you to either lead this or be a part of this. And then sometimes I step up or people choose me. But always in all aspects of that, you have to be humble and you have to be respectful.
I think that in our conversation, I got a lot out of what I consider to be servant leadership, and you're talking about this in such a wonderful way. And I'm wondering, even you say you came from a very humble beginning, and you shared some of that with me. I understand that you originally came from Baltimore.
Oh, Hillsborough, Maryland.
Oh,
Country
I'm
girls.
sorry, Hillsborough, Maryland. Right,
But the city mice were in Baltimore, so I was
right,
able to visit often. Yes.
right. And then, did you know you wanted to lead before you became a police officer?
Well, I remember times in elementary school or, again, playing football or kickball. It's like if you're chosen to be the captain or the leader and your team wins, you feel good about it,
Yeah.
right? And then I remember being praised by either teachers or loved ones. But then, kind of touching to me is that the folks that came back from Vietnam, the poor whites and poor blacks that were forced to go to Vietnam and still came back, they were leaders too. And to have them in my childhood call me champ, and tell me, hey.
Where did that come from now? You talk about that history. Would you like to share that with
Yeah,
the champ?
So you had Cassius Clay, who was later Muhammad Ali. He's the best boxer going, the biggest fighter back then in the 70s, 60s, and 70s. So, of course, these Vietnam vets and these country boys taught me how to fight. And so I occasionally got in a couple of good hits to the nose and everything. So they started calling me champ. And they taught me to be like, hey, you always be the leader. Don't be a follower.
So way back then, they were looking at you as a leader. Do you think, one of the things that I talk about, Chief, in all my classes are, and we really never got a true answer. Are leaders born or are leaders made? Do you think there's something inside of someone that they have a need to lead? What do you think?
I think that leadership is taught, and everything begins at home. And if it doesn't begin at home, there's someone in your life that influences you or motivates you or makes you aware of your full potential to become whatever you want to be. So are you born? You're born, but everyone's developed after birth, and that comes from who's around you, who are your parents and your guardians or your loved ones. That outside influence is what makes you a leader. Who's around you and who helps develop you.
And thank you, and that's a great segue into my next question. Where did you acquire your values that made you such a good leader?
Well, again, I have to go back to the people that helped raise me, and that's the entire community in Hillsborough, Maryland. And I came to Boston when I was 12, and I was raised by a single-parent mother, my older sister, younger sister, but I always tell people I was raised by my parents. The other parent was everyone in the community, again, that bolstered what had been instilled into me in Maryland: morals, value, respect. Even when I didn't have confidence, I had people bolstering my confidence and saying, like, listen, here's the experiences that we went through, and here's the experiences that we want you to have. We don't want you to repeat our mistakes, so we're going to teach you this and teach you that. So from parents, football coaches, people in the community, teachers, again, those mentors and those leaders that are developing you, they didn't even know they were being mentors half the time. That's where you get leadership from. But you have to meet them halfway. You can't be a know-it-all. And then in your role now, your leaders too, in this great professor's class, have patience, because sometimes when you recognize a leader, sometimes they're a know-it-all. You have to have patience and teach them to be humble. I'm so happy in my life that a lot of folks were patient with me.
That's great, and a great lesson on values. Why are you considered to be, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but based on a lot of reviews that I've read about you and about some of even your fellow police officers, they consider you an agent of change. How do you look at yourself as an agent of change?
Well, first, to look at yourself, you have to realize that I didn't get to this position on my own. And I appreciate everyone that paved the way for me so I could be here in this capacity. With that being said, if you know your history, you know your self-worth. But how does that apply here? Here's how it applies. If you know what happened in the past, injustices, perceived injustices, stereotypical views when it pertains to a police department or ethnicity, anything like that, you learn from other folks' mistakes. And those should be teachable moments so that when you're in a position to make change, you're already taken a part of a learning process that will help you to facilitate making that change. And in doing so, use your own experiences. For me, the best compliment that I've ever received is that you didn't forget where you came from. You didn't forget that you were a patrol officer, and now that you're chief, you didn't forget where you came from, and that you still talk to people. And it's not out of being phony, but it's out of genuine concern and care, and that's true.
Right, and in my course, some of the things that we talked about this past class was authenticity, being authentic and having integrity. And these are things that you really don't have a lot of these days in leadership. We don't have that transparency where we realize that we are the authors of change, but change so that others can be able to work with us, understand us, and be part of that change, and not separate from the changes. Not separate from those that are so-called leaders that say they are agents of change, but only in their own circles.
I would love to add as well that you have to be loyal too. If you're a leader, you have to be loyal to those whom you lead. I believe that people don't work for you, they work with you. That's what was taught to me by my top mentor, was D. Saunders, a deputy superintendent in the Boston Police Department. With that being said, that loyalty is this. If I'm the chief of police, with all this anti-police sentiment and criticism going around, I'll handle that.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me, or gives me, the opportunity to educate people about who police officers really are, what programs and initiatives we have in place.
Right.
But I'm not going to take part of the anti-police sentiment and throw my brothers and sisters under the bus and let them take all the heat for things that happen outside of the Commonwealth. But I will step up and protect my brothers and sisters. That's my role as a leader too. Protect them so that they can do their job, and educate people about what we really do and how we really are able to make change by working under a community policing concept. If you're a leader and you don't protect your troops and what they're doing and know their good intentions and what they've done and done well, then you're not going to be successful, because they're not going to have a buy-in in what your mission statement is for your goals, for your department or your agency or your workplace. And if you're the leader, they're not going to follow you, and it's just not going to be successful.
It's great. It's a great answer. How do you see the difference between a leader and a manager?
Well, I think true leadership comes from experiences and learning about people,
Mm-hmm.
and also experiencing some negative things that have happened to you when you have been, I hate using the word subordinate, I'll just strike that right now. When you were working with other people, mm-hmm. who thought you should be working for them. Right? What about those negative experiences? Learn from that and just flip it around. And I would never want to be that person, and that's how you lead, by example.
That's very, very key, leading by example. So, under your direction as the top Boston cop, what do you do to inspire existing and to-be police officers in the city of Boston?
I'll tell my story, I'll tell other stories, and I'm not the top, we're the top. We're number one because we work cohesively together. And every time I hear hey, you're the top cop, I always say that's because people have paved the way for me to be here in this capacity, and their success is my success. Their experiences are my experiences, and I just quite simply pass that on. It's not scripted, it's not from a book. I tell about my mistakes, my successes. And I show folks I'm human too. If I make a mistake, I'm hey, one time I made this mistake. Give you a quick example. What if someone comes to me, brought to my attention, hey, they messed up and I have to discipline them. Am I going to throw the book at them? Of course, I'll weigh everything, what made them do that, mistake of the mind, heart, whatever. But I'm going to have conversation with that person,
right?
And if it helps them, because you don't want to lose a person that's good,
right?
That made a mistake. If it helps them, hey, I made a mistake too in the past. I wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
So you have to show people that you have a human side, and then explain to them the lessons that you learned, and then explain something more that people seem to forget. You have to have some pride too. You're a Boston police officer, the first agency. Boston Police Agency, is the first police force in the country. We want to make it the best that we can be. So if you can share that pride with them and hey, we're number one. When we make mistakes, it might reflect poorly on our name, on our history. We want to make our house the best that it can be. And with that being said, everyone makes mistakes, but here's how we can do things bigger and better together.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something I missed that caused you to have that mistake, but now that we know what we need to work on, there's an accountability piece, right, that goes from my way to your way.
Right.
And we have to take care of each other. We have to be accountable. We have to do our jobs. So we're learning how to do that the best way we possibly can together. But you have to show your human side. You can't have this air of machismo like, you screwed up, I never did, I'm untouchable.
We've all had those bosses.
I'm a Teflon boss. I was perfect. That's just plain bullshit.
Bullcrap. Yeah, right.
We all made mistakes, and people helped us. And hopefully good people helped us so that we took the lesson away from the mistake instead of being embarrassed. Never embarrass anyone.
Well, that's a good point.
All they're going to remember is that you embarrassed them, and that they will never forget that. They'll hold it against you for the rest of their careers or lives. That person embarrassed me when I made a mistake instead of helping me.
And they'll always resist. And they'll always be apprehensive about.
Right.
In other words, one of the things that we talked about was for true leadership to happen, all right, the most successful companies were, believe it or not, with employees that made the most mistakes, but they corrected them. If everyone is supposed to be perfect, then that's the farthest we learned.
Right.
That's the farthest away you can get from perfection. So this is kind of an important question. You are all about developing and integrating diverse populations to live and work together in a rich and developing community.
Yes.
And you already explained a little bit about how you do this, but can you elaborate a little bit more on that as a leader?
Sure. As a leader, one of the things you have to do is you have to be good at conflict resolution.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll use the Boston Police Department by example. Of course, there's been a negative history between neighborhoods suffering from poor socioeconomic strife,
right,
or neighborhoods of color. You have that negative history.
Yes, right.
So here's how I guide and bring people together. Always acknowledge that there were problems in the past.
Okay.
Use those times in history as a way to gauge your success now. So this is what I mean. Of course, there was negative interaction, injustices on both sides, but either way, it's a bad relationship between the police department and the communities. Use those as teachable moments to showcase that we were here as a community, we were here as a community and police department, but look where we're at now.
Right.
So this allows me to educate police department and the community about where we came from and what we need to do to work in partnership together. So our mission is to work in partnership with everyone in the community to problem solve, to help create a better quality of life for everybody. So
That's
that
awesome.
community policing concept, learn from history, acknowledge that history, and just tout the successes that you have together now. And for God's sakes, listen to each other. So that's how you bring
communication.
Folks,
it's all
bring
right.
folks together by communicating and showing the human side. Showing that, guess what? We're all God's children, right? We were meant to interact with each other in peace, but there's something in humans that cause us to go after each other, and usually that is ignorance and not knowing about someone and believing negative perceptions and stereotypes. And the only way to break that is human. Be human to each other. Learn about each other.
Right, we're all the same.
I kind of love that term, fair and impartial policing. You don't have to keep it that technical, but that's bolstered by procedural justice, which means will you please use your common sense and treat people as you would want to be treated. That's how you bring neighborhoods together. And that's why I love talking to living history, the seniors that lived through the human rights and civil rights movement. And that's seniors of all colors and nationality. When they give us a compliment, we being BPD, you're talking about some people that have lived through some serious things and issues that says, wow, you know what? I never thought I would see a police department like this with ice cream trucks or an African-American chief or men and women that are Caucasian coming and interacting with our kids in communities, not being condescending, but being welcoming and listening to folks. That's kind of who sets the stage for me, that lets you know, hey, we're on the right path. We still have work to be done.
Yeah.
But then you start having people talk to each other and learn, like, hey, we have the same interests, goals.
I think you're reading my script here,
nope,
because
I can't see it.
I mean, no, because that's, I know, but it's
I'm 53. I can't see that.
No, but here's what. Well, I got a few years, right? But here's the next question here, which I think has to do with what you just talked about. And the thing is, how do you see changes right now as a change agent that you plan to make in improving policing in Boston in the near and distant future?
First of all, continue the process of educating folks in the community. That's police officers in our community, even the private sector, being the businesses and institutions of higher learning, how this village can be stronger if we communicate and work together with each other, respecting each other's opinions.
Right.
Now that we have that established, and we pretty much have that established in Boston with work to be done, here's the work to be done, right? Never rest on your laurels. Always look for ways of improvement. Always look for ways to educate not only the men and women you work with, but also educate the community as well. And when they want to educate you about something, listen. Have the patience and listen. And take it in. Don't just listen to just say, hey, yeah, you told me this. And then give feedback. And then have more dialogue. Then, as well, you need to provide a way to always make the people you work with better than you were, whether that's higher education, whether it's equipment, whether it's listening to their ideas and how to make, let's say, Boston Police, I'm always going to use that as an example. How can you make this department better? How do you affect that change for the positive? I'm the chief, but I listen to everybody. If somebody has an idea or concept, I'm like, come on up, let's discuss it. That's truly employee development, by letting them know that you're truly a part of this team. You're a part of this department. I'm going to listen to you. If you have a great idea that makes us a better department, listen to it. If the community has a great idea to make this a better community, of whom they want to be policed by and how we can coexist together, listen to it. So the future is this: provide people with the tools and assets they need to make positive changes.
Right.
Listen, never rest on your laurels. And hey, I'm competitive. I'm prideful. I continue to want our community to be the best that they can be. And we are the best major metropolis in the country. And that's because people just don't accept where we're at now, but we want to keep going and keep going.
And we're going to keep going. We're going to be the leaders and the innovators. Right. As you said, we're the first police
department in the
nation. Along those lines about education, how important is it for a police officer in Boston to get a good college education? Wonderful professors like Bill Finn at Quincy College.
Bill Finn, my big brother.
Yeah.
Thank him for his services to our great nation as he served in Vietnam.
Right, and the thing is that teachers, education, Curry College, we have a really great CJ program, and we have a really great department, leadership, nursing, and all that. But focusing in specifically on policing, how important, you're back in school now.
I'm back in school.
You're right.
Proud of it, too. I never listened to naysayers. At one time in policing, no one blinked an eye if you didn't attend college. You were part of a police culture that you were taught in the academy. Of course, there was in-service. And if you wanted to attend institutions of higher learning, you did, but you could progress in your career without a college education.
And
But fortunately, I came on the job in 1983 in an apprenticeship role. Notice I say apprenticeship. Boston Police Cadet program. But I was able to learn and watch from that time till now. And I found that a lot of our officers that attended institutions of higher college and even private schools, they did better. They performed better on are promotional exams because you're taught how to study. You're taught how to concentrate.
Right.
And unfortunately, I call them like I see them. The public school system did not gear folks to take exams or have leadership development. And I think you can learn that not only from your Boston Police Academy, which is definitely an institution of higher learning for many, and that can be bolstered by taking a criminal justice course, a business course, or a psychology course, because that's what you're going to need out in that field.
A lot of it.
And if you can develop yourself as an officer by attending institutions of higher learning, you are going to be a better officer. Not only for yourself, but you're going to pass your knowledge on to other officers, and you're going to pass that knowledge on to the community as well.
And leadership.
And leadership. That is key.
So transparent across so many disciplines.
I've learned so many things, not only by going back to school, but even before that, I would take classes and I would take advice from people who had masters, and they were commissioners and chiefs from all across the country, and some from overseas. Same thing. Always seek to educate yourself, whether you're in college or whether you're taking training or whether you're taking courses, and then apply that knowledge to your position, your department, and then even at home and in the community.
It's all
so it's very important.
All
learn,
transparent.
Learn.
Keep learning.
Never put anyone down that doesn't have this huge degree, or how do you know what happened in their life that may have caused them not to attend an institution of higher learning? It could be monetary, it could be confidence. It's your job that once you've made it, even when you're taking classes, to inspire others to do the same thing.
And that's what you're doing now.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, we have a wonderful articulation agreement between Quincy College and Curry College, partners for a long time. And the transparency of leadership, and just the fact that you were, and I'll just close with this, that you were in my course, that online leadership course. How do you think that type of a course helps police? If you were able to stay in it, what did you like about it? What didn't you? What did you?
I will be back in it, but this schedule for the summer did not allow me to. If I can't give it 150%, I'm not going to do it.
You told me that.
But
yeah.
You need leadership development courses. So I'll talk about the history of BPD, right? Sometimes you're put in a position, like for me, for instance, I found myself a deputy 8 years ago. If I didn't have the former commissioner, Ed Davis, send me off to a fellowship to learn leadership, I would have been going in cold. When you go in cold like that, you're going to make a lot of mistakes that could have been corrected by you learning from people that have experience.
Yeah.
So forget the big ego when you get this big title sometimes that I'm here and no one can teach me anything. That's wrong, wrong, wrong. You should learn from everyone, from the first level to the top level. And one of the things that's been most instrumental for me is leadership courses, because you're going to find oftentimes that the same things they're teaching you already had in yourself. And that's going to bolster your confidence. You're like, wow, I didn't think I knew anything. I didn't know shite. And then you read something, and you're like, wow, that was in me the whole time.
The leadership gene.
Right. And then that should give you that appetite to learn, well, man, let me go to the next level. What else did I miss that I thought I didn't know? And then you're going to find out that, like you alluded to earlier, we have some true leaders. And all those experiences and everything that you learned in the past, or you watching people, all that's going to come back to you. You're going to figure that, you know what? With the books and the professors taught, I kind of had that in me. So now let's develop it.
Right? Make it better. Like you said, if it wasn't for that fellowship, right.
So it doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. What's wrong with you keep practicing and practicing and applying so you're the best leader that you can be? But you have to realize it takes a little honing. It takes mentorship. And don't put yourself down over that.
How do you like these online courses that for example, police officer schedules or nurses, or like if you were able to do that, did you, when you got into look at that course, the time you got into it, did you like it? What did you? I just wanted to get some.
Well, absolutely, I loved it. And the question about online courses, if you're a first responder, if you're in human services, you need that flexibility. For us, there's forced overtime, or we're responding to an incident or major event. You need that flexibility where you can go online and help complete your courses and learn. And I love your interaction by usage of videos. Haven't seen that.
And that's
before.
what they're gonna. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Usually, a professor will give you like a YouTube or something online. They watch this video, but you're actually in the videos, and I love that. But flexibility is key.
Yeah, no matter where you are, you can.
Flexibility. Other than that, you're going to have more pressure on yourself to make it to a class, and damn.
Well, you did.
I gotta cut this corner to study for this. When you have that flexibility, then you can apply yourself the best that you can to that course.
And the hybrids too.
Right.
I mean, to some in class, when you can't make it, and the hybrids allow you you can do a lot online, then bring that energy into the classroom.
And then you're going to be the best ambassadors of education, because for me, I didn't know about hybrid classes. I didn't know about the flexibility. So often that's a deterrent. And here's the biggest thing that's said when you're deterred from it. Man, I don't have the time for that. I just don't. I'm doing that. I don't have the time. And then you find that, wow, you do have the time. And then, sorry for being a potty mouth, then you'll find that a lot of educators aren't stiff asses, that they understand what you're going through, and they understand your roles and your positions as leaders, and that they truly want to help develop your leadership and your ability so you can pass that on. Then you have
successorship.
Yeah. Hey, we're flexible, we'll work with you, but you definitely have to meet them halfway. It is not a give me.
Chief, this has been absolutely wonderful. And the thing is, I sit here across from you, honored to be here. But the thing is, what I loved most about this is not that I came in to talk to Superintendent in Chief William Gross. I keep saying Gross, you're going to sue me for that. People call me the Sicko, the Kiko, the Keiko.
I'll explain mine real quick.
No,
so here's how I used to stump the English teachers. They're like, your name is Gross. I'm like, no, ma'am, it's Gross. You taught me that. I never taught you that. Says you taught me any vowel surrounded by consonants is a short vowel. Cross, toss, boss, cross, bang. There you go.
But anyway, to keep on my train of thought, what I am most impressed about is more than that, is sitting across from William Gross, the person. I just found that the person behind all of this is a real person, not someone with a title and a sign on the door.